Intro music. Shining Boss, welcome to What If, a debate show. Today, we're going to talk about banned games for all platforms and their impact on the gaming industry. Joining us today are two gaming experts, Jane and Jack. Thank you for joining us today. Jane, thank you for having us. Jack, it's a pleasure to be here. Shining Boss, so, let's start with the first question. There have been several games that have been banned in different parts of the world. Do you think that banning these games was justified? Jane, well, I believe that games that promote violence or hate should be banned. These games can have a negative impact on people, especially young players. It's important to protect our society from these kinds of games. Jack, while I understand where Jane is coming from, I think it's important to allow gamers to have the freedom to play what they want. If a game is too violent or offensive, then it's up to the players to decide whether or not to play it. Shining Boss, interesting points of view. Now let's talk about the impact that the ban on games has on past games of the same franchise. Do you think that banning a game affects the past games of the same franchise? Jane, yes, I think it can. If a game in a franchise is banned, it could harm the reputation of the entire franchise. Gamers may start to lose interest in the franchise, and it could hurt sales of previous games in the franchise. Jack, while that may be true in some cases, I think it's important to remember that each game in a franchise is unique. Just because one game is banned, it doesn't mean that the entire franchise is tarnished. If anything, it could draw more attention to the franchise as a whole. Shining Boss, interesting perspectives. Now, let's hear from gamers. We asked some gamers about their thoughts on banned games and their impact on the gaming industry. Video clip of gamers. Gamer 1, I think that banning games is a bad idea. It's up to the player to decide what they want to play. Gamer 2, banning games doesn't really solve anything. If anything, it just makes people want to play it even more. Gamer 3, I think that banning games can have a negative impact on the gaming industry. It could discourage developers from making games that push boundaries. Shining Boss, thank you for sharing your thoughts, gamers. Now, let's wrap up. Jane, Jack, do you have any final thoughts on the topic? Jane, I think that while it's important to protect society from violent and hateful games, we should also remember that gamers have the freedom to choose what they want to play. Jack, I agree. Banning games can have unintended consequences. It's important to let gamers make their own decisions. Shining Boss, thank you, Jane and Jack, for sharing your insights with us today. And thank you to our viewers for tuning in. Join us next time for another episode of What If, a debate show.